Colonel Sanders would never give up the secrets to his success, his 11 secret herbs and spices. But here is 11 secrets to SuperCoach success you can sprinkle over your side to add some flavor to the 2022 season and spice up your chances of being the next SuperCoach champion. Now, while I admit some of these might be zingers and a little outside the original recipe 3-piece box, you're going to want to sink your teeth into this because it's finger-licking good. Stream every game of every round of the 2022 NIL Telstra Premiership season live and ad break free during play on Kayo. New to Kayo? Try 14 days free now. 1. Treat SuperCoach like a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a long season. Don't worry if you don't start fast, just try to stick with the pack as much as you can. It's okay to trip over some weeks. Just pick yourself up and keep running with it. Save them trades. They are like paper cups of Poweraid to give you the boost you need later in the race. Don't give up. I was so disappointed in some of my choices last year. There were 2 stages I wanted to throw the towel in. You can recover from a slow start or several bad weeks throughout the season. Know the finish line is a long way still to come and trust you have the stamina to break away from the pack when the time is right. 2. Have a plan. Plan ahead. Don't just play week to week. Try to plan weeks ahead on trades and pay attention to the draw to see if players in your side have a soft or tough run of games. This can be useful when considering trades or whether to start or bench players in your side. Also focus on by planning as Origin starts to loom. There is no super trade week of 5 trades this season, so by planning and choosing if to use our trade boost option around the buys will something to consider. But be prepared to throw your plan out the window and adapt on the run by playing what I like to call eyes up SuperCoach. If things are not working, don't be too stubborn to admit you might have got a decision wrong and correct what needs fixing. That may mean having to jump on a player a week or too late. With some players you don't want to miss jumping on the boat altogether. Tim Moody won $50,000 as the 2021 KFC SuperCoach champion. Picture, Jonathan Ing Source, News Corp Australia. 3. Weigh up the pros and cons to each decision. Each week we have several decisions to make. Who am I going to use as my VC, vice captain, and who am I going to select as my C, captain? Remember, the captain you pick gets double his score. And if I plan to use my VC as a looped captain, do I have someone not playing this round in my side that I can switch into the starting side as captain, as well as having someone else in the same position as the non-playing captain that is still yet to play? The pros and cons can be looked at as risk versus reward. The pros of trading in a player may be things like the player has a good draw, he has buy coverage, his scores have the potential for a high ceiling, he is in a good attacking side that score lots of points. The cons might be things like the player isn't consistent in his scoring with some big scores yet several underwhelming scores, the player may not have good job security, the player could be rather injury prone, or perhaps they are a liability. When it comes to being suspended, they may have a history of missing games through suspension. 4. Try to watch every game and go back and watch games again if needed. While this may be easier for some than others depending on life outside of SuperCoach, such as family, work and lifestyle, watching the games gives you so much more information than merely checking the SC app for scores. Watching the games allows you to see why a player scored so well, and it gives you an idea of if this sort of scoring can be repeated, or was it on the back of a lot of luck. It also allows you to get a feel of what will happen next. Is a player showing signs of breaking out, or maybe you see that a player goes missing too much and realize why he isn't scoring as well. On some of the bigger trade decisions throughout the year, I'd go back and watch several games from earlier in the year to see how the player I am considering scored so well, or didn't score so well. Rather than just trusting the stats. Why are the stats the way they are? Maybe a player who scored low was injured early in the game, maybe they just had a stinker. 5. Don't chase last week's points. Okay, so there is a difference between chasing last week's points and jumping on a player a week or two late, and knowing the difference is the hard part, one guess. Some players will have a blinder scoring loads of points, but this might have been a one-off special occasion. If week after week, we just trade into our side the player that scored the most the round before, then we are chasing last week's points. Instead of jumping on last week's hero, I find it more beneficial trying to identify trends and patterns, focus on the upcoming draw, who is showing potential and could go breakout, try get on the who will score big next week, and moving forward. Try do this early as it helps you get ahead. Sometimes we have to bite the bullet and admit we missed the boat on a player, but there are times we need to also admit we got it wrong, and jump on a player late, even paying a bit extra if need be. Players that you just cannot go without. Last year those were players like Tommy Turbo, Nico Hines, Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Papali'i, David Fifita, Cody Walker, Ruben Garrick and Brian Tuo. Tom Trbojevic was a must-have player in 2021. Source, supplied. 6 save trades. Now the SuperCoach gods have blessed us with 5 extra trades than last season. But we are still going to have to be cautious with how we use them. Saving trades will be crucial in 2022. We have also been given the flexibility to apply a trade boost in any round, giving us an extra trade for the round, but we only have 3 of these trade boosts throughout the season. Choosing when to apply them will be part of the strategy we each go with. With the uncertainty of COVID, saving trades will be essential to lasting the season. 7. Take a day off from SuperCoach each week. For me, my SuperCoach brain is always winding. If you're putting the effort in watching the games, reading SuperCoach and NIL content, listening to a podcast or two, and you feel like you are always thinking SuperCoach. I like to use Monday as my day off. That gives me that reset mentality that prevents me from making emotional decisions such as rage trading. 8. Don't get cute with your captain. As nice as it is to go against the pack and nail a POD captain, I found that going with the obvious standout option was usually the best way. That often means just choosing the captaincy choice, which the highest percentage of other SuperCoaches have selected. In the past, the safe option was to lock in a safe score of 80 as your captain by picking a player with solid base such as a front rower, 2FR or hooker. But last year has shown that we want to be picking those players with big upside, who also show consistency, and for me last year, that was picking mostly between Nathan Cleary or Tommy Turbo as my captain. My advice is stay away from picking a creative POD captain choices, and save the creativity for selecting your VC. If you pick a pod VC, and they go massive, use the vice captain or captain loophole. Brian Tuo was superb in 2021, but can you afford him to start 2022? Picture, Adam Head Source, News Corp Australia. 9. You can't have them all. As much as we would like to start the season with all the superstars, it's just not going to work with the starting salary cap. Picking good cheap is pre-season, and then, as the season goes on, will allow us to grow cash and buy more expensive superstar players. It would be impossible to start the season with all of the following playing: Cleary, Turbo, Teddy, Garrick, Tuo, Cody Walker, Munster, Harry Grant, IPAP, and David Fifita. This year is super exciting because there are so many different combinations of players that teams will start with compared to years prior, in my opinion. 10. Pick the right time to zig when everyone else zags. If you find yourself up near the very top ranks, at some point you will need to zig when others zag. I was given this advice by the 2019 SuperCoach champion Des Creek, but what he didn't tell me is how to choose the right time to zig. I took the advice on immediately, the following week actually. Now this was early days still, going into round 15. I was in 24th place and I decided to do a zig that gave me nightmares for weeks. Everyone was zagging with Tommy Turbo as their captain, who was playing David Fifita's Titans. Yep, I zigged all right. I captained Fifita for a score of 83 and missed out on Turbo's score of 208. It didn't feel right in my gut, this decision, but I was in a hurry to zig. I was able to recover from this, even though the decision dropped me from 24th to 55th, when I would have got green arrows had I stuck